Hello and welcome to the How Would You channel. Today we're working on my girlfriend's 2010 Mercury Mountaineer with the 4-liter V6. I'll be showing you how to go through the vehicle and perform a basic oil change, as well as ensure the vehicle will pass inspection or get you through that upcoming road trip. These principles can be applied to any make and model of vehicle. One of the first things you're going to want to do is get light on the engine bay. That way you can get a good view of what's going on and if there may be any leaks or whatnot present. The first thing I like to check is the air filter. You just have to undo these clips over here. I believe that should be it. Looking at this air filter here, it's not super dirty and it can easily be reused. So we're going to put it right back in. All right, so some of the things you're going to want to check are your fluid levels. So if you notice that the coolant level is actually pretty low on this is due to a pre-existing condition on this vehicle. We'll be addressing that at a later date. Then you want to check your power steering fluid. A nice trick I like to use with these clear containers is you take a flashlight, preferably one that's a little brighter than this one, and you kind of put it right on the back side of that, and you can tell right where the fluid level is at. As you can see, the dark spot is where that fluid level is. You can also check the quality of the fluid level just by taking a look inside. This power steering actually runs off automatic transmission fluid, and it looks red. It doesn't look too dirty. The only real way to tell is to drain and flush it, but this is at a good level. The power steering fluid isn't making any, the power steering rack isn't making any noise, so we're not going to touch that. Another thing to check is your brake fluid. It's over here. Same trick. Take it, and especially if it's a little dirty, you really gotta take a look. This one's looking a little low, so we're actually gonna take off the top and take a look. It is a little low, but not too low, and the brake fluid actually looks of very good quality, so we're gonna leave that alone too. Other things to note in the engine bay, your battery. Just check the date on it. Make sure there's no visible corrosion on the terminals. That would look like green and kind of disgusting, and it would look green and flaky around either one of these terminals. Another thing you want to check is while you're in here, you want to check the condition of your lines, belt, and wires. So if you look over here, on this car, it has a central coil and several spark plug wires. If you trace along the wires, you should be checking the condition of these wires and making sure they don't have any noticeable cracks in them. You can check the condition of the belt. Just take a look in there, make sure you don't see any cracks along the ribs, and make sure it's in good condition. You do the same thing with the pulleys. If you actually remove the belt, we're not going to do that in this video, but if you do remove the belt, you can spin the pulleys and you'll hear if the pulleys are bad. Another thing you can do here is check the evap lines. Just take a good look around and see if any lines are cracked or need repair. That is honestly the biggest part of being a mechanic, is checking on these little lines and making sure they're of good quality. Hello and welcome to the How Would You channel. You're going to notice during the course of this video that I have access to a lift. Most people do not. When you're jacking up your car in the driveway to do some of the things you see in this video, make sure you're safe. Use jack stands on a structural part of the vehicle. Now back to our previously scheduled program. For this oil change, you're going to need a drain pan, as well as a ratchet and the correct size socket, or the correct size wrench for the drain plug. You may also require an oil filter wrench. I was able to use my hands for this one. Once you're under the car, locate the drain plug. It should be directly under the engine. Don't go too far back or you'll be draining the transmission fluid. Take note of the color and the quality of the oil as it's draining out. It should be a dark brown. It shouldn't have any flakiness or sparkliness in it. It also should not be a milky color. So as you're going through and doing your oil change, it's a good idea to check a few separate things. So I apologize for not showing you removing the oil filter, but it's really hard to do that and film. But there's the removed oil filter right there. I always do a filter when I do the oil. It's cheap insurance. So one of the things you want to do while you're going through is check all your bearings and bushings. As you see, there's a decent amount of rust here on this sway bar, but the sway bar is actually pretty solid. Doesn't really move too much. Same with your axles. And so this axle is in there pretty good. I'm not feeling too much play in this axle. And same with this one over here. Not too much play there either. Where I am seeing play, however, if you look at this this drive shaft, yeah, that's not supposed to do that. Well, after that shocker discovery, we turn our attention to the rest of the inspection. Here I am pointing out the back of the oil pan. It clearly has some oil residue on it from a leak. This can either mean the back of the oil pan is leaking, or unfortunately the rear main seal could be leaking. This is going to require further diagnosis, but either way it's good information to have. Here I'm checking the play on the main drive shaft. It seems to be in pretty good shape, unlike the front. The rear differential does seem to have a major leak from both the front and back of the diff housing with all that oil residue on there. After that, I'm checking the rest of the rear suspension components, making sure there's no major play in any of the bushings or axles. This back and forth shaking test is a good way to check tie rods and ball joints. If you feel any clicking or groaning in the suspension while you're doing this, chances are one of your ball joints or tie rods may be going out. Make sure you have the correct amount of oil. This one takes 5 quarts, and the correct type, 5W30. And guys, use a funnel. It's not worth the mess. Of course, after you're done, you're going to want to check your oil level. Give the oil a sec to settle to the bottom of the pan, and then pull that yellow dipstick pictured. You're going to want to make sure the oil level is at the correct mark. Some dipsticks have a mark that says full, and some just have 2 dots.